This video is brought to you by artofthetrek.com. Art of the Trek just recently released their public points of interest to their maps. Just simply go to the overlays menu on their maps and you have the ability to add campsites, trailheads, water sources, and scenic locations to their public map. This is an excellent feature to have as you can help out your fellow hikers in planning their trips and seeing public points of interest. So by simply clicking the overlays menu, selecting which point of interest you would like to add, and hitting the plus sign at the bottom, you can add that public point of interest. So Kevin's driving right now, and we're in Dolly Sods, and we're gonna add our favorite campsite that we always talk about in our Dolly Sods videos. Super easy to do. Just fill out some basic information and details about your point of interest, and then go ahead and add it. What's great about this too, to help encourage people to use this point of interest feature, if you contribute at least a dozen or so of these, Art of the Trek would be happy to send you a free swag bag. So hey, free swag is always great. Anyways, head on over to artofthetrek.com, check out this feature, and now let's get into the video.
Mail time,
Oh,
mailbag,
mail call.
mail call. So first off, welcome back to the channel.
Yes.
Welcome to Schill Brothers Outdoors. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, and for the love of God, go over to the Backcountry BSing site and subscribe to it.
So we have a podcast. If you weren't aware, check that out. It's on all podcast sites, but we also live stream it and we do video of it, and we do it on this channel. You've probably seen it, but we're moving it to its own channel very soon, sometime in a couple weeks. Go over there, subscribe. All the podcasts will be there. Check out our merch. Is that it?
Rate us on iTunes.
Rate us on the iTunes store, the podcast. Okay, all right, mail call. So we've done this before sometimes. People email us with like kind of cool video ideas.
Yeah.
So we got a video request from Matthew Forsyth. Matthew, I told you, I guess, did we say we would do this?
I said it was a good idea.
He did have a good idea. So I'm gonna read this email. I'll kind of paraphrase it. So if money was no object, what gear would you choose for a weekend warrior trip? Would you go more ultralight or more comfort? Is there gear that you've had your eye on but haven't pulled the trigger because of cost? You know, I'm not going to read the whole email, but the mantra was, you know, like he
as a weekend
warrior, and we definitely fall into this, but he always has grand plans to go out once a month, but due to like real life responsibilities, only going out every 3 to 4 months. Hey, if you're going out 4 times a year, that's still pretty good.
That's very good.
But he's got nice gear, and he's always looking for ways to cut weight and be more comfortable. But really the question was like, if money was no object, you know, if you're going out for a weekend warrior trip, what would you take? And then I'm going to also answer this question, like, would you go more ultralight or more comfort? And is there gear you've had your eye on but haven't pulled the trigger because of cost?
But there's another good point that was brought up there too, is like,
yeah, but we can. This is a good point.
it's like how do you handle when, you know, there's so many awesome cottage vendors out there and cottage manufacturers, but you can't try on anything or see anything firsthand.
Yeah, like we've had people like Jason Winch came and tried on his Light AF pack before he bought one. I don't know what to tell you. It sucks.
You got to roll the dice.
You gotta roll the dice. So before we get into like our ideal loadouts, you know, no cost, whatever, I do want to answer this question. Is there gear you've had your eye on, but you haven't pulled the trigger because of cost? So for years, that was the hot tent.
Yes. Yeah.
And
hot tents are pricey.
yeah, I mean, $700 for that setup with the stove. Yeah. So we literally put that off for like 4 years, and we just finally bit the bullet. But that was the one piece of gear that for a while we had our eye on. And then next, I'm actually pretty curious. We talked about this on our live stream, comparing hammocks versus tents, but these super ultralight monolight hammocks.
Yeah.
Those are really cool. They're not cheap. We don't have them. I already have too many hammocks. So
Yeah, I think
like that. Is there anything?
I think the next piece of gear that I'll be getting is probably like some type of ultralight hammock. I don't know what yet though.
So one of these like monolight, like super lightweight ones.
Yeah. I got to do a lot more research on it, but that's a very, very like, that's like, as a hammock camper, that's kind of the newest thing in that genre. Like,
yeah.
And so like everybody's like, oh, look at all this new fabric that's coming out. Like Dutchware's got this great new fabric.
Yeah.
And all these cool hammocks are out there. So yeah, that's probably the next thing I'll try to figure out. The problem is like I really like the Banyan hammock.
Yeah.
But I mean, we complain of the Banyans a lot more, weighs a lot more. So maybe we'll
Yeah.
just wait and see what goes on there. But
so I wanted to get that question, but here's the real crux of the video here. So if money was no object, what gear would you choose for a weekend warrior trip? Would you go more ultralight or more comfort? And this brings up something interesting to talk about, and something that we've been doing more and more of recently, because we've only been able to go out for 1 or 2 nights. But for my weekend warrior trips, now if I'm going for more than 2 nights, this does not apply. But for my weekend warrior trips, what I've been doing is taking the lightest loadout I can that's still comfortable, and making up that weight in things like pulled pork, beer, ice cubes. So like, right? I mean, that's what we've been doing a lot of lately. And a lot of that has to do with it's winter and it's crappy outside. So when you get to camp, there's nothing to do. So you want to bring some comfortable stuff. So for my ideal weekend warrior trip, I'm bringing the Light AF Curve because it's the lightest pack I have, and I can do 3 or 4 nights in that thing easy. The better question for me is, am I doing a tent or a hammock? And that depends on where we're going. It kind of depends on the weather. Lately, I've been taking the tent a lot, but if I know the weather's gonna be bad, or I know we're gonna go somewhere where we don't have like really good campsites, I will take the hammock. But yeah, Light AF Curve with the Helinox Chair Zero. That's 2 pounds of gear right there. If I'm in a tent and it's a weekend warrior trip, I'm taking a heavier, bigger tent, like the Durston 2-person tent. And I'm taking a luxurious sleeping pad, and then I'm making up the weight. I mean, I'm bringing
stuff.
I'm bringing tall boys of IPAs. Those are super heavy. Usually on these, like when it's cold and we're going out for 1 or 2 nights, we're gonna bring pre-cooked, pre-frozen food, and that weighs a ton. In the summer, I got in the habit of, on the 1-night trips, bringing a Yeti little cooler with bourbon ice cubes, and that was not overrated.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Having ice cubes when you're out summer camping is freaking awesome. And then we'll also bring, in the winter, we'll bring pretty heavy fire starters because we don't want to deal with that. And then the ultimate heavy piece of luxurious just weekend warrior gear is the hot tent, honestly.
Yeah.
But the mantra for me lately is, on these weekend warrior trips, I'm bringing the lightest gear I can that's still comfortable. So I'm not taking an arc haul, and I'm making up that weight with fun stuff.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I mean, it's probably similar. One of the things that price is holding me back right now is like I want to upgrade some of my, I want to upgrade my down pants because they're 17, 18 ounces.
That's a good weekend warrior item.
Yeah,
too.
but I just you use them 3 or 4 times a year maybe.
Hey, I actually wear my down pants around home sometimes when it's super cold.
Yeah, and so the next step up from the El Cheapo ones on Amazon, which is what I have and have worked great.
Yeah,
they're just really heavy. Is you're looking at a couple $100, and I just don't know if I feel like dropping that kind of money right now.
So that goes back to the first question of what items have you had your mind on, but you haven't done it because they're expensive.
Yeah, some type of ultralight down pants. That's gonna. But I just haven't pulled the trigger yet because I don't feel like dropping the coin. But definitely worth it because, like you said, right now in winter, my gear is pretty heavy, just with all the down that I'm taking.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to get that a little bit lighter and less bulky because I have no problems with this, but I use my arc haul because it's way bigger.
I was gonna ask you, so your weekend warrior setup, what is it? Is it the arc haul or is it the Light AF?
Well, right now it's the arc haul because I just physically cannot fit everything in the Light AF. It wasn't designed for that though.
Yeah. I can in mine, but mine's bigger than his.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the pack jitters. I'm starting to. We haven't bought a new pack in 2 years. I know, but see, here's the thing. It comes with the territory. We got a YouTube channel. I want to try different stuff. I get lots of exposure to other people using cool stuff.
So Matt in his email to us, he kind of talks about something, and we'll really quick talk about this. But first off, he says, do you have any recommendations for trying out upgrading gear from these cottage companies? And yeah, we talked about this. I
don't know what to say.
Some, maybe you can reach out to them and they'll send you something you can try on maybe, or if you happen, I will say, if you happen to live close to any of them, and COVID's going on, so I don't know about it now, but they're usually really open to you coming in and trying stuff on. I know Z-Packs at one point you could come in and they would take your measurements. So if you happen to live close enough to one, maybe.
Well, here's the thing
that's
too.
an option.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for all cottage manufacturers, but they have. I mean, they're built on customer service, and so they'll work with you if you have issues. I mean, but to be honest, like, it's kind of the nature of the industry. You got to take a gamble a little bit, and you got to go off other people's reviews and experiences.
Yeah, that's why YouTube's so helpful.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about was he mentioned this, and kind of Andy was just talking about how he's getting the pack jitters. You know, Matthew says after our spring. For a piece of gear, it always seems like I stumble on another one I want to try.
Oh, that's
called gear acquisition syndrome, gas. We've got it too. We've got so much stuff between the two of us that it is super hard for us to justify getting new gear, honestly. I mean, between the two of us, we probably have 5 backpacking setups.
Yeah. And
it's gotta be... It's called gas. It's not even specific to backpacking. I'm on my second Traeger. It's just, at some point, you don't have enough space. Now, you can always resell stuff like that. That's what I do. But no, gear acquisition syndrome is real. It's hard because every year these vendors come out with newer, lighter, better stuff, and having good stuff when you're out backpacking makes backpacking easier. But gas is real. Luckily for us, we're just physically limited by space at this point, and we just don't have unlimited space. So it's real. People struggle with it. Maybe we'll have a support group. Yes. I don't know. But that's it. And that's kind of a fun video talking about, what is your ideal loadout for kind of a weekend warrior style trip?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it changes with season. It changes with what we're doing, how many miles, where we're going.
It does.
Like right now we're taking it very low mileage. Having fun with the hot tent, so we're carrying a lot more weight and a lot more fun stuff to kind of hang out and enjoy the winter.
So that is it for this kind of a fun video. If you have like fun, interesting video topics, just email us. Sometimes we do it. That was a fun. We always like talking about gear, and you know what? Weekend Warriors have been getting shit on in the YouTube backpacking community, even though there's more of us than there are of them. Yeah. And we always like talking to people about gear and
And plus, like, who cares? Like, I mean, who cares if you got all that gear? Think of all the cottage manufacturers that you're supporting.
Yeah, for sure. So that is it for us, and we'll see everybody on the next one.
See ya.
Goodbye.